Before we get into the fantasy news today, I would just like to say tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am releasing maybe my favorite video that has ever been on this channel, and I'm not even in it. It features one of the biggest science fiction authors of the last generation, and I am so pumped to finally be able to put it in y'all's hands after seeing this come together over so long. So set your reminders, get ready to like and share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. I think it's gonna knock your socks off, and it's the start of a big new thing here on the channel. But now, let's go ahead and get into the Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today we have one of the thickest episodes of Fantasy News I have ever come across, to the point where I even called in aid.
Gun knuckles for aid! And Rohan will answer. Muster the Rohirrim!
So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and jump on into it. Starting with some major book deal news for one of the biggest authors currently in the space. And that is that Jon Scalzi has reportedly signed a 7-figure deal with Tor Publishing for 10 more books from the author. You may know Jon Scalzi from many of his best-selling books, including Starter Villain, Old Man's War, The Final Colony, or my favorite literal title of his I haven't yet read, The Kaiju Preservation Society. I'm curious. And if you're a fan, you might already be looking forward to his next release coming March of 2025 called When the Moon Hits Your Eye. Or hell, you may have seen his name from the many awards and acclaims he has received over the years. But yes, now, starting tentatively in 2029, he is going to be putting out an additional 10 books minimum with Tor, depending on whether or not this deal gets expanded or renewed. When asked about the deal, Jon said, "It's rare in publishing to get anything close to continuity. Authors go from one publishing house to the next. So I'm especially proud that this contract not only extends my 2-decade association with Tor Books, but gives us both an opportunity to build on what's come before and make what comes next even better. We have so much planned in the years ahead. I can't wait for you all to read it." Huge congratulations to Jon Scalzi and Tor, of course, and for the fans. I know I haven't always been the most positive on Jon Scalzi books, but that does not mean I do not appreciate him as an artist, what he's been able to accomplish, and so just hats off, congratulations. Little tinge of jealousy. But this takes us to our first cover reveal of the day, which is going to be for finally, after so many in-sheets, the cover of The Empire of Silence from the Broken Binding Edition, with cover art by Renee Agner and reversible base relief art by Peng Lu. And I've seen, even though this is saying this in the announcement tweet, that it's a reversible, some people think that this is like a cut in half cover. No, you're seeing two different covers in this image, hence why the text is like here than there. If you look closely, open the eyeballs, you'll see what this is. And I have feedback. I definitely like what they're trying to do with the reversible side cover. That'll absolutely be my display. The top one though, a little more mixed on. There's like some about it that is a little too casual with so many epic, amazing scenes in Sun Eater to predict. I get that this is the starter book and this is kind of like the starter scene for it, but I would have gone with something a little more oomphy. But that being said, I'm super happy the reversible cover's there, because that reversible cover, sick and fits the vibe, absolutely the tone of the series and what I will be displaying. Hell yeah. And I also really want to say I love that Patrick Leo followed up by saying the inspiration for this reversible is the kind of series of Rome deconstruction, super iconic History of Rome covers that you've probably seen in like every bookstore ever. And that's got me really excited to see what's going to come next for these reversible covers. I like where it's starting, but if we're going to follow like the tone of the series and descend into like the destruction of Empire, super duper down.
It's great. Super duper.
But let's go ahead and hop on over to some major book adaptation news, and that is because the upcoming Fourth Wing adaptation has managed to nab its showrunner, and wow, do they have some credentials. Moira Wally Beckett will officially be the showrunner of Fourth Wing and has previously served as a writer on Breaking Bad and was the creator of Anne with an E. And not only is this exciting for the Fourth Wing adaptation because having someone with Breaking Bad on their resume attached to anything is kind of impressive.
2 dudes that turned into raspberry slush and flushed down my toilet. I can't even take a proper dump in there.
But on top of that, we're in a very interesting time for romantasy right now. Obviously, in the literature space for fantasy, romantasy's been huge for a while, but I can't really think of a major adaptation of A Court of Thorns and Roses, obviously is still in the works right now, Fourth Wing, or any of the predecessors that came before these series being adapted in a major way. We don't have a Kushiel's Dart major adaptation, despite that one being largely critically and commercially praised. And I'm hoping that the studios recognize the pulp appeal of these books. They don't try and change them. They don't listen to these overly harsh critics who entirely ignore what the books are trying to be and instead just come out with these hypercritical lenses, and instead, for the sake of the fans, understand that's part of the appeal. These are just good time fantasy epics that I'm not trying to belittle at all by saying this, but that they thrive in their corniness, right? They thrive in having this appeal that many other subgenres in fantasy kind of shy away from at times. This is coming from Amazon's MGM Studios with support from Michael B. Jordan's Outlier, who actually owns the rights to this. So I don't know, I'm oddly fascinated by how this Fourth Wing adaptation is going to go, because as someone who just is constantly looking at the development of the adaptation fantasy space, it's a bit of a new chapter right now. And with Court of Thorns and Roses getting an adaptation paralleling it, if these are both major successes, it could kick off something pretty huge. And I don't think, obviously it's never a smart bet to predict something in early development in Hollywood is just guaranteed to be a huge success, but a lot seems aligning right now for these to be mega successes. Could be something really big and new. I'll keep an eye out. But as I mentioned, yes, there is a Court of Thorns and Roses adaptation coming down the road as well. And unfortunately, well, the Fourth Wing adaptation just got some good news. A Court of Thorns and Roses has some bad because it seems to have lost its showrunner. It is still in development, according to the showrunner, but Ronald D. Moore is no longer attached, saying, "I don't know what the status is anymore. I can tell you I am no longer working on it because I left Disney and I've returned to Sony. And ACOTAR was a project that was at 20th Century Television and Disney. I had worked on it for a while, but it was still in development, as they say, when I left. So I don't know the status anymore. And if we get any update on said status, I'll be sure to let you know." Hello, I've been made aware that a grievous error has been made in the coverage of this story by my wonderful girlfriend. She has informed me that I have been saying ACOTAR as in actor, which that's wrong. And instead, it's not a court, thorn, or rose. Don't know where that even came from, but instead it is a court of thorns and roses, which I knew because obviously it's supposed to be ACOTAR, but I am what you call stupid. But this brings us to San Diego Comic-Con Lord of the Rings Rings of Power Season 2 trailer, and it certainly occurred. It had many of the strengths that we saw in the Season 1 trailer. No one is going to claim that there is not at least a beauty and spectacle to be had when it comes to Rings and Power in terms of just the sheer amount of money Amazon is clearly pumping into this project. But what this trailer really needed to do was, it's not a teaser, right? It's full length. Show us there's going to be a greater commitment to character that is nuance, development, conflict that goes beyond just good, evil, bah. And I didn't necessarily get that. I'm usually against trying to judge trailers too harshly because they are essentially lies a lot of the time. Marvel certainly set the standard there. Not that I'm even criticizing that. It's just a practice that's much more common. But I'll say the biggest demerit, having Tom Bombadil in Season 2 was a hell of a choice, and our first introduction to him here does not necessarily give me Tommy B vibes, and I'm so dreading the characterization of Tommy B being just boiled down to quirky wizard man who occasionally says odd things and wears yellow boots. I'm really afraid that's the Tommy B we're gonna get. I hope I'm wrong. In fact, in this, we see Tom Bombadil kind of taking on I'm stepping up, I'm going on the adventure with you to find out stuff vibe. And if you know anything about Tom Bombadil conceptually, that's antithetical to what he is supposed to be. Worries. That was a bit of a bummer though, so let's turn the page and get to my favorite kind of fantasy news story, an odd one that reflects specifically the oddness of fantasy fans and their oh so lovable ways. Because there is currently an art display going on in Tokyo where people can have their picture taken being eaten by a mimic. Wonderful time. Absolutely fantastic. I did not know I want to have my picture taken being eaten by a mimic, but now I definitely do. And I'm definitely not alone, because the volume of people waiting at this display to get their picture taken with this mimic resulted in them creating a second mimic display at the Osaka venue. This is specifically a display related to the franchise Freerian Beyond Journey's End, which unfortunately I'm not familiar with, but regardless, I really want to get eaten by a mimic. Do you agree? Hi friends, I'm coming to you at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to throw in the towel, because, as has happened 4 times before, Sanderson just posted big breaking news. And I give up. I give up. I now understand that Sanderson very much so enjoys waiting for it to be a late Monday evening, right around the time I'm gonna finish editing Fantasy News, and just dropping something. He's sitting there in his little podcast studio, twiddling his fingers, just eager to keep me up later. And that's fine. It's okay. I probably deserve it for some reason. But yeah, it's happened 4 times before. But this time, he's released the preface and prologue for Winds and Truth. Winds or Truth. Truthful Winds. They're available for you to read, for you to consume. And I would just like to say, Mr. Sun, whatever I did to offend thee, whatever I've done to earn such ire, I'm sorry, man. I'm really, really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. But I know that won't stop you. I know what my future holds now. You can read the prologue if you want. Goodbye. It's time for some fashion. And I was really excited when Fabletics decided to sponsor me. I don't know about you all, but I do kind of struggle to find athletic clothing that actually feels good to work out in, that can be a mixture of breathable, stretchy, lightweight, but not sheer. And that was why I ended up agreeing to Fabletics. Because right now I'm sitting under a hot studio light in a warm summer's day and not dropping a drip of sweat, and it's stretchy. And as a bonus, they have all-inclusive sizing that runs up to size 4X in a variety of fits. Training Day is their high stretch, high sweat performance, seamless fabric. While the fundamentals are great for everyday wear, to be frank, I really enjoy just like how comfy these are when I'm bundled up on the couch. I'm working out, I swear to God. Honestly, I look great, I feel great, and the quality is superior to the majority of my workout clothes. So these pretty much have replaced them entirely. And have 2 zip pockets to keep your goodies on you while you're keeping it breathable down there. I've actually signed up for a soccer league here in Boston, and I've been wearing Fabletics. Even the comfort wear and casual outfits have me feeling good, and they're easy to mix and match to create your own new looks. Fabletics is offering the Goblin Horde just as much massive savings with their VIP program. When you sign up, you will get an unreal intro offer of 70% off site-wide. In addition, you will get 2 for $19 shorts, and as a VIP member, you will save up to 50% off all day, every day on all products. In addition to the consistent discounts, each month your membership will get you 1 credit to redeem for a 2-piece outfit for any product up to $100. The membership is flexible, skip as often as you'd like, and you won't be charged. Other VIP perks include monthly drops, early access to styles, VIP-only sales, and free membership to the Fit app. So go to fabletics.com/Daniel Green and get 70% off site-wide when you sign up to be a VIP member. And thank you, Fabletics, for finally giving me like good, stretchy, breathable clothing. If I win in soccer, it's because of you. Mwah, kisses. Just when you thought the era of strikes might be coming to an end, we have seen that the SAG-AFTRA video game voice/performance actors have gone on strike over largely AI. There are other complaints to be had, but yes, once again, this is an AI-driven strike. With a quote saying, "We are not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Enough is enough." And as we've seen over the years, there is an immensely complex conversation to be had around the utilization of AI. Outside of arts, it seems to be much more straightforward. I just read an article about AI being used to communicate with dolphins. No one's got an issue with that. That's badass. But when it comes to replacing artists, yeah, there begins to be some massive issues, especially with voice performances, which is an area that AI has been excelling in to a greater and greater extent in recent months. It used to be you could just recreate someone's voice with some weird hitches to it. Recently, I've seen stuff that's basically flawless, and I think it's very important that these actors and artists are heard because, yes, this is an art form that should be protected and understood, and there should be a future for people who have a passion for it going forward. Whether or not that's going to be completely achievable, it seems, in my subjective opinion, they have an even harsher uphill fight than the recent protests and strikes we saw from actors, because there is such an aggressive ability to be able to reduplicate and, you know, as we even saw with Scarlett Johansson, steal someone's voice. They have my support though, absolutely, and this is not the only union story we'll be covering here today, because Blizzard has seen within its World of Warcraft division the largest union in the company's history come together, with over 500 employees from various departments, including engineers, artists, producers, etc. The World of Warcraft Game Makers Guild has officially formed with the assistance of the Communication Workers of America, which seems to have almost immediately brought a response from Microsoft, who, as you may remember in previous episodes of Fantasy News, has recently acquired Activision Blizzard. And they said, "We continue to support our employees' right to choose how they are represented in the workplace, and we will engage in good faith negotiations with the CWA as we work towards a collective bargaining agreement." And with just the last story we covered here today, the importance of employees coming together, trying to take some power back, just seems all the more important now, as there is tools becoming available to try and aggressively replace artists. Once those tools become complex enough to replace management, I bet the limitation of them will become a lot more aggressive immediately, because who has the power to do that?
Yeah, I just have a quick question before we begin. How exactly...
And once you start looking at it from that angle, the hypocrisy becomes oh so clear. But let's go ahead and get back some fun story news, because if you are a massive Stephen King fan like myself, you have probably heard of his book, The Long Walk. Often considered one of his most hard-hitting, The Long Walk tells the story of teenagers who are forced to go on an incredibly, you guessed it, long walk. But if they slow down below a certain point for longer than, I think it's 30 seconds, they're brutally killed. And it is a intense, engaging read that just maintains this sluggish momentum deliberately to kind of just have a very interesting feel for a horror book, even for Stephen King. And a long time ago, we covered the fact that it could possibly be adapted. Well, that adaptation has officially begun filming, with Mark Hamill and Judy Greer attached, as well as Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson taking on the starring roles. Francis Lawrence, who you might know from his involvement in the Hunger Game franchise, is going to direct, and this could work. Like, it's gonna have to be very tonally ambitious, and probably won't be for everyone. That's what kind of scares me. I don't want the creative direction for The Long Walk to be to try and broaden the story's appeal. That will absolutely dilute it. Instead, I hope they lean into that pacing we talked about that is so distinguished, and then we could feasibly receive a movie that is ambitious in its vision, a faithful adaptation with some real star power behind it. Whether or not we'll get that, I'm not sure. I need to reread this book because it's been far too long for me to talk about it with authority, but as a Stephen King, like, dope. And fun fact, if this is like a Stephen King book that's flown under your radar, that's because it was actually originally published under a pseudonym, Richard Bachman, which is a pseudonym Stephen King has used in the past. But speaking of strange horror, the Uzumaki adaptation, again, we have covered previously, has officially released its first full-length trailer, and I'm surprisingly really happy with this. It is certainly trying to be what appears to be a shot-for-shot, panel-for-panel adaptation of Junji Ito's absurdly terrifying vision, and that's the only way I would accept this. But from what I've seen in this trailer, well done! Junji Ito is a creative who understands that horror goes beyond a jump scare or even just not being able to stay up the night after you watch a movie. It's a profoundly nuanced emotion, and Uzumaki is a story that can even feel absurd to the point of comedic at times, but there is a consistent undertone of just unhinged creativity that Junji Ito throughout his entire career has just essentially mastered for manga. And whether or not it's going to successfully adapt in this case to animation, I'm more hopeful than I was when before I saw the trailer, which I'm delighted to say. And this will be premiering on Adult Swim September 28th. But goblins, this brings us to a pivotal moment in fantasy news, because San Diego Comic-Con has had some absolutely absurd news come out for the superhero subgenre of science fiction and fantasy. And it's not something I particularly love talking about. I have no issue with superhero stuff whatsoever, but I don't want to fake passion for something that's just not really engaging to me. Fortunately, I do have a friend.
I doubt that.
A friend who is more than happy to talk about superhero and heroine news for you. And so without any further ado, Jackson Dickert, the goblins call for aid!
Daniel don't cover Marvel, but there's big news. There's way too much to cover, so I'll rap and get booze. Downey spells doom, and the fans are pretty split. Some people hype, think he's a perfect fit. Some people wish it wasn't Robert Downey. Bringing back these actors is feeling kinda clowny. Deadpool and Wolverine breaking box records. Marvel can't cash a check without these men. Newton Bros jamming out The Devil's Born Again. Russo Bros directing, so this might be a win. Ultraman along came Spider-Man for manga fans. All this seems cool and we'll see how it pans, but Marvel's unreliable since 2019, and DC is liable to step on the scene with a brand new logo nearly 50 years old and a Joker 2 trailer with Joaquin. We'll go gaga, cause musicals are bold. Batman shows canceled for Marquee. They want Penguin, not Gotham PD. Penguin comes to Max on September 19. Farrell goes hard like a mafia movie. But James Gunn isn't done that easy. The first new DCU project looks juicy. It's a Suicide Squad blast from the past. It's coming in December and it might kick ass. Meanwhile, Todd McFarlane wants to wow us with a new Spawn film that just needs a director plus. A Hellboy trailer that gave me nightmares. See it if you dare. Say a prayer. It's a terror. Finally, we're back in the world of Amazon. They love bloody soups that are hand-drawn. Invincible renewed for season 4. Mark's new suit gets fans in the door. But Mark's not the only soup Amazon tackles. The Boys prequel series starring Jensen Ackles. It's called Vought Rising, set in the 50s. There's no release date, so unfortunately, you'll have to be patient for more Compound V.
I don't know what the hell that was, but now though, let's go ahead and continue on to the quickie news for the week, because we have seen that Harbin Hotel has been renewed not just for season 3, but also season 4. And in a delight for myself, as a massive xenomorph and alien fan, a YouTube channel called King Animation has released an Alien Monday anime horror short that is just incredible that it's free available for you to check on out. So if you like xenomorphs like myself, go ahead and check the link in the description down below and watch someone create, as far as I've seen, the first ever xenomorph focused anime. Absolutely sick.
5 meters, man. 4. What the hell?
While we're talking about the description down there, there's also a link to my personal channel Discord server. If you'd like to post any news to see covered here next week, go ahead and join Post It in the Fantasy News channel, and I might just cover it next week. Next quickie news, we also got another Borderlands trailer. It made me not believe in the future of humanity. And in the final piece of quickie news we're covering here today, have you ever want to see Jeff Goldblum play Zeus? Well, then you can go ahead and check out Kaos, coming to Netflix. August 29th, described as Jeff Goldblum reigns as Zeus in this epic struggle between gods, humans, and everything in between. Brought to us by the creators of The End of the F***ing World, which tonally makes complete sense for Jeff Goldblum to be involved. Well hooked. We're gonna wrap up the fantasy news today though with 2 more rather notable stories here for the fantasy space. Steven Spielberg has announced that his next movie is going to be titled The Dish and is going to be released in theaters May of 2026, starring Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor. Centered obviously around a UFO, this immediately made me think of like Robert Zemeckis' Contact. The idea of Spielberg taking on like a classic UFO story, gonna get me excited no matter what. It's Spielberg. While we don't know anything more yet, Emily Blunt, another huge win immediately. And so many of the greatest science fiction films ever have been able to take just the simple premise of a foreign craft, an unidentified flying object, a dish, and running miles, hundreds of miles with it creatively as for its impact on humanity, the characters in the story, and the idea of, again, I just gotta say it, Steven motherfucking Spielberg taking that on is so tantalizing. I mean, obviously you can think of like E.T., but I'm hoping this more has that larger scope of a contact, of maybe even like a Annihilation, something that Spielberg uses as a catalyst to question our place in the universe even more so, to create that atmosphere, that immersion that he as a director is so well known for. And in the exact same vein, creatively, artistically, for cinema, we have also seen Michael Bay sign on for a skibbity toilet film.
And today's Indie Pub promo is The Galactic Zookeeper's Guide to Heists and Husbandry by A.C. Huntley, pitched as a fast-paced space romp about second chances, rediscovering purpose, and finding family in unexpected places. For 8 years, Saffron Savage has been stuck on a dilapidated zoo planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. Her mountains of overdue student loans make it impossible to afford the cost of leaving, and her sleazy coworkers force her to work demoralizing jobs on a daily basis. Desperate to escape, she hatches a scheme that might just be crazy enough to work: steal the zoo's rare, two-headed llama and sell it to the highest bidder. When the poorly planned theft lands Saffron and her stolen companion as unwitting stowaways on an outbound ship, she must pose as an animal rights activist on a mission to return the animal to its home planet. To her surprise, the ride comes with some perks: an instant chemistry with Captain Michael Reyes and burgeoning friendships with the ship's motley, animal-loving crew. Other than the lie that's snowballing out of control, Saffron finds herself settling into this quirky, ship-bound life. If only the buyer wasn't the most notorious cutthroat mob boss in the galaxy, or there wasn't a warrant out for her arrest.
I have no idea what the tone of this book is after listening to Kayla read this. Literally none. I am so fascinated.
Check it out in the links down below.
But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you'd like to see sneak previews of my writing, some bonus videos with Kayla and I watching movies. We're about to do Deadpool and Wolverine for the Patreon exclusively later this week. And join the Discord server if you want to be a more integral part of the community. Check out Jackson Dickert's channel and prepare for unequivocally the funniest video that's ever been put on this channel tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. I love y'all. Have a good one. Peace.